أهلا بكم إلى هذه المقابلة الخاصة مع وزير خارجية الأميركي الأسبق مايك بومبيو. شكرا جزيلا لقبول دعوتنا ونحن سعيدون جدا بلقائك اليوم هنا في الرياض. تزورون الرياض اليوم ونحن في مفترق طرق في هذه المرحلة، إما الالتحاق بعجلة النهوض بقيادة الدول العازمة على ذلك وعلى رأسها السعودية كما جاء في كتابكم، أو الانزلاق إلى دوامة العنف كما تسعى بعض القوى الأخرى. أين ترى اتجاه المنطقة اليوم؟
You know, I'm not always an optimistic person, but on this I am tremendously optimistic. It's funny, you have my book here. I wrote it now 4 years ago, I think, mostly the writing. And I was optimistic then, and it's all but come true. There's still challenges, right? There are still those who do want to return to violence, to extremism that exist. We, the collectively Western civilization, people that want to bring humanity towards decency, like the leadership here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and other leaders in the Gulf region, right? We have to continue to tirelessly work at this and do it fearlessly. And if we do, you'll see events like FII where huge commercial interests come for the betterment of humanity, and the decent, good people, the white hats of the world, will prevail. And this region will have more security, more stability, more prosperity. So that our grandkids can live the kind of lives that we all pray that they do.
اتفاق غزة اليوم لا شك أن هذا الاتفاق سيؤثر على المنطقة برمتها، غير أن تفاصيل تطبيقه لا زالت غير واضحة. تحدثت عن تدابير أمنية واضحة لتحقيق سلام مستدام، ما هي خاصة فيما يتعلق بقوات حفظ السلام؟
So look, as a tactical matter, you're precisely right. This still a lot that there was really hard work to get the hostages out, but it was the easy part in some ways, in spite of how difficult that was. This is going to take a sustained effort. I know the world wants solutions this afternoon or tomorrow morning. The reality is this is going to be a long process. It is going to be fraught with good days and bad days. Hamas is not going to stop doing what it's trying to do. The Muslim Brotherhood is not going to just lay down its arms and say, we lose, you win. They will continue to try and foment chaos and instability. And so what does that mean as a tactical matter, which is what you're getting to? It is imperative that they get the remainder of the bodies that are still held back home to their families. That's part of the phase one of the process. I'm glad to see the Egyptians on the ground in Gaza working to help deliver that. Second, you need a governance model. And I read today that Hamas has agreed to the beginnings of a model. That is a really good step. We'll see if they live up to that commitment. But there has to be a government that is not connected to Hamas, not connected to the historical terrorism in the region. And if you can achieve that, which I think there's a reasonably good chance that it can be done, then it'll take just hard work over the coming years to do the institution building. We think of rebuilding often as putting up towers or putting up residences. That's necessary. More important is to rebuild institutions.
لكن المعضلة الأبرز تبقى سلاح حماس. من الجهة المخولة بالتعاطي مع هذه المسألة؟
Peacekeepers have to take on that task of disarming. Now, I'm not naive. Every rifle is not going to go away. There'll still be but you've got to get the organized militias disentangled. You have to break them up in their entirety. You have to destroy the capacity for organized conflict. That's classic counterterrorism. We all in the world, we know how to do counterterrorism. We're really good at it. Since 9/11, the world has gotten really good at this. We need to do it there on the ground. And then finally, you need to make sure that it's not re-weaponized. What does that mean? That means the tunnels have to be destroyed. It means that you need to secure the borders in a way that can convince Gulf Arab states, the Israelis, the Americans, that we don't have the Iranians continuing to flood the Gaza, or for that matter, Judea and Samaria with weapons. You have to clean it up.
لكن نريد أن نعرف تفاصيل أكثر. ما المهام المنوط بهذه قوة حفظ السلام؟ هل ستكون قتالية أم فقط للإشراف؟ أين ستتمركز؟ هل ستكون باستصدار قانون دولي أو فقط باتفاق بين الدول ما بين بعضها البعض؟
The peacekeepers need to be sufficiently capable of not only defending themselves but securing the people of Gaza so they feel free to conduct political activity, right? Build schools, create systems that can deliver water so that the people of Gaza can do that. So long as Hamas can continue to terrorize them it'll be Hamas with the political power, and that is simply that won't work.
هل تعتقد أن القوى الداخلية التي يتم تجهيزها الآن هي القادرة على التعاطي مع مسألة سلاح حماس؟
So there are many models for this that we've seen in the world before, where peacekeepers, security forces work together to deliver the stability that is needed to begin a process to reconstruct and build. And that's what it's going to be needed in Gaza. And none of this happens, I just want to remind everyone, none of this happens in a week. And that's what the world wants, right? On your stations, on the BBC, on CNN, they want to talk about what happened today. I just urge everyone to focus on progress, focus on security and stability. If we can get those pieces right, the opportunities are endless, and that is so good for this region.
من الدول التي ستكون مشاركة بهذه القوة؟ يعني سمعنا عن تحفظات كثيرة لدى إسرائيل في هذا الخصوص.
I don't know exactly who will step forward. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, the Qataris, they've all done a great deal already. But it will take other nations as well. You've seen the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Turks. I hope they're all there for a good reason. So they'll be, the Israelis don't want the Turks in there very much. They want very little Turkish involvement. I know that long history, but we should make sure it is a wide-ranging set of actors. By the way, some of the big Muslim countries in Asia may well be participants as well. I know for Americans, if you talk to the average American, you say, where are the big Muslim countries? They think of here, right? I reminded them that Pakistan, Malaysia, Indonesia, these are the largest Muslim populations in the world. And we need to make sure that they are participants in this project as well. They have risk of extremism in their own countries. To the extent they can help provide a dampening of extremism in Gaza, they will have done the world an incredible service. And the leaders in Indonesia have really been remarkable in this moment.
نعود إلى موضوع إدارة القطاع وإدارة المرحلة الانتقالية في القطاع التي تطرقت إليها. ما الدور الذي ينبغي أن تطلع به السلطة الفلسطينية في هذه المرحلة في إطار الدفع بحل الدولتين؟
What that requires to get there, for there to be people that are self-governed, that's sovereignty, right? That's the indicia of nationhood. To get there, it is a stepping stone. You have to begin to build out confidence that the world says, no, this is really a unitary entity that deserves its own sovereignty. That's the principle of the Abraham Accords, right? It has to be a set of leaders that recognize the fundamental right of Israel to exist. This is not Abu Mazen.
ماذا عن مروان البرغوثي؟ هل تنصحون الرئيس الأمريكي بممارسة الضغوط على إسرائيل من أجل إطلاق سراحه وهو شخصية فلسطينية جامعة ويتفق الكثير حولها؟
I'll leave that to President Trump. I don't know. It's a very complicated, very difficult problem set. It will be the case that someone must step forward to be that unifying leader. Look, we've watched what's happened in Syria, right? Where a gentleman who for a long time was a designated terrorist by the United States of America, he so far has demonstrated that he is trying to put that nation together and fix it. In the end, proof is over time. It's not about what you did yesterday. It's about what one does tomorrow. If the people that live in the West Bank and the people who live in Gaza can find not just a leader, but a set of leaders that are prepared not to be self-interested, not to be extremists, not to be a kleptocracy and steal. But in the end, this is really about, we know what the process must look like. The people in the region have to select those people. They have to have confidence and trust in those leaders. In the same way, I think of where we're sitting today. The people of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have enormous trust in Mohammed bin Salman. That gives him the capacity to shape and change, and it gives the people the confidence to say, we're going to follow him. And that's what this region will need as well. Leaders that follow the path that you and I have just talked about.
طب هل تؤيدون حل الدولتين وأنتم تعرفون جيدا أن هذا مطلب أساسي لأي اتفاقيات سلام مستقبلية؟ وهل لدى الرئيس الأمريكي نظرة واضحة أو مفهوم واضح حول هذه المسألة تحديدا؟
So everybody wants to talk about the two-state solution. I know that's the buzzword. I think about it differently. What we know is this. There's not going to be, when I think of a nation, what does a nation have? It has an air force, it has Marines, it has an army. The Gaza's not going to have Marines, an air force, and an army. No one thinks from a security perspective that would be permissible.
ولكن السلطة الفلسطينية تعترف بالدولة الإسرائيلية، هي فقط تريد أن يعترف العالم بدولتها دولة فلسطينية حتى منزوعة السلاح كي لا تشكل أي خطر على إسرائيل. ما هو تصوركم في هذا الموضوع؟
We get hung up on this word state. I would just urge people, don't get hung up on that word. Get hung up on the indicia. Can they govern themselves? Can they feed themselves? Can they create court systems that will allow property rights to be enforced? Can they protect their citizens from crime? Those are the indices of statehood. As they begin to build that, it will come to look more like a state.
بالنسبة للبنان، هل تتوقعون أن يدخل لبنان بجولة جديدة من المواجهة مع إسرائيل؟ ما السبيل الأمثل للتعاطي مع هذه المسألة؟
This is exactly the same issue. I pray for Lebanon. I love that place. I love Beirut. President Aoun is a friend and a fundamentally decent man. We need to continue to help him take down the capabilities of Hezbollah, and it has many of the same features. You have to stop weapons flow into Lebanon out of Syria. It's a good thing, right? The Syrian leader has now said he's going to cut off weapons flow into Lebanon, and then the Lebanese people need to demand that their government no longer allow an independent army, Hezbollah, an independent army inside of their country.
هل تعتقد أن الرئيس عون يفعل بما يكفي في هذا الإطار؟
He's working very hard. He needs help from all of us, though, and maybe I didn't mention this soon enough. All of this could end if the Ayatollah would decide to be a normal nation, right? To take his country in the direction of normalcy. We've not asked them to do anything but simply stop fomenting terror, stop building the ring of fire, stop supplying, arming, undermining, propaganda campaigns, driving the IRGC to do assassinations in Europe. The list is endless. If you look at Hezbollah, if you look at what's still going on in Yemen with the Houthis, these are Iranian proxies, all different, to your point. They're all different. They have different objectives. They have different timelines. They have sometimes different variants of their religion. So they're different. What's common about them is their efforts to undermine civility and order and decency, and a common effort to destroy the nation of Israel. And that is Iranian sponsored. I'd remind everyone who's watching, Al-Qaeda is headquartered in Tehran today. It's not in the mountains of Afghanistan. It is headquartered in downtown Tehran. So long as you're harboring Al-Qaeda in your country, and you still have a stated policy of destroying the little Satan Israel and the great Satan America, you are part of the problem, and the problem that the world needs to find out how to address.
تقول إن إيران المحرك لكل هذه الاضطرابات. كيف تجد مقاربة الرئيس الأمريكي بالنسبة إلى إيران، وهل تؤثر على برنامجها النووي الإيراني وعن سلوكها في المنطقة بشكل عام؟
So it's done a really good job with respect to the nuclear program. The Israelis, combined with Operation Midnight Hammer, were effective. There's still an intention on the part of the Iranian government to build out their nuclear weapons program. They deny that. They're lying. They continue to try and work. They were set back materially. The Trump administration did remarkable work there. It's what enabled the project in Gaza, right, to get as far as it has. Absent the decimation of Iranian power, they couldn't have made that much progress. Last thought, there's still a lot of work to do on Iranian efforts to promote terrorism. And we can't just focus on the nuclear file without thinking about the regional influence that they continue to have.
هل يجب أن يظل مبدأ صفر تخصيب الركيزة الأساسية في أي مفاوضات مستقبلية مع إيران؟
Yes.
بشأن حرب روسيا وأوكرانيا، قلتم ذات مرة أن العالم يراقب أوكرانيا، وما يراه سيحدد مكانة أمريكا على الساحة الدولية لعقود قادمة حتى. كيف تنظرون اليوم إلى نهج الرئيس ترامب تجاه فلاديمير بوتين؟
I was critical of the Biden administration. They didn't deter Vladimir Putin. That's the central feature of good foreign policy, is you don't fight wars, you want peace. And they failed at that. Putin felt like he could invade Ukraine and that the cost wouldn't be too high. I'm rooting for Europe and America to make the cost very high for Vladimir Putin. And there are economic elements to that. So you've seen this with the two most recent additions to the sanctions list. Now one must enforce them rigorously. But second, I think there have to be support for strikes inside of Russia against military targets to take down Russian capability to continue to foment war, right? This is deterrence, right? It can't be the case that you fight a war just playing defense. The Ukrainians have demonstrated they are very capable. The Ukrainians should be permitted to do this, and the Europeans should provide the tools and resources, along with America, so that they can continue to prosecute this effort, which is seeking only to stop the Russians from killing civilians. And this matters.
وإلى السؤال الأخير، مسيرة حافلة بالسلك العسكري والدبلوماسي، ما الذي يبقي مايك بومبيو مستيقظا في الليل؟ قلت ذات مرة أن كل التحديات تبقى ثانوية أمام هدف احتواء الصين. هل ما زلت ترى ذلك، أم ترى أن هناك فرصة لخفض التصعيد بين القوتين؟
So all these problems are serious and require redress, whether it's here in the Middle East or the conflict in Europe. Today, however, there is only one leader, one political party, the Chinese Communist Party, that has both the capability and the intention of destroying all that is good in the world, and that's Xi Jinping. He wants the world, much like these extremists, it's a different model, but much like these extremists, he wants to destroy Western civilization, and we can't permit that to happen. When I look at the progress here in Riyadh and in the kingdom, you talk about this move towards this fundamental modernity, right? This idea of decency and treating human beings right. Tactically, they'll find a solution on trade. This is a deeper, longer-term challenge from the Chinese Communist Party. So the moment we'll find a way on trade, I'm sure they'll figure it out. But the challenge, even after that deal is struck, isn't going away. Xi Jinping has deep intentions for global hegemony and for us to live in a world that holds a million Muslims being held in Western China under a situation that you would not permit anyone in your family to live in. This is the challenge of our times, and we can all do better, and we'll have to do it together, the whole world. The Gulf state Arab leaders who are amazing.
مايك بومبيو، شكرا جزيلا لك.